Author Kimberly Williams knows there are white women who long to create friendships with black and brown women because they are afraid of saying or doing something wrong. So she wrote a book to help white women unpack these fears and hear the truth no matter how uncomfortable. Kimberly is here to tell us about her book, Dear White Woman, Please Come Home. Thank you so much for being here to talk about this today. Hello.
Hello, Megan. Thank you for having me.
Well, first of all, what caused you to write this book?
I'll tell you, I was at a workshop, and it was a workshop designed for specifically for Black women and white women to come together and to connect and to heal and to share truths with one another. And the white women in the workshop, listening to the truths that the Black women shared over and over again, said, "Wow, I didn't know. I didn't know that." And I thought, first of all, I got angry because I thought, how could you not know if these stories are on the news every day? They're in the newspaper. They're all over magazines. And then I thought maybe they didn't know because we were trained not to tell them. And communities of color, we often do not tell the truth to people who are in positions of power, which in this country largely are white people sitting at the top of companies and organizations. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to write a book and I'm going to tell the truth directly to white women so they can never again say that they didn't know.
And why are friendships harder between white people and people of color versus ones within our own racial groups, specifically for women?
Oh, 100%. I would say it really is because growing up in our segregated communities, we all of our races and cultures that we identify with or belong to have our own set of ideologies and practices and mannerisms. And I always tell people it really is when that which is normal to me lands poorly on that which is normal to you, you and I end up in conflict. And we haven't had a lot of practice, Megan, the two of us, moving through that conflict and getting beyond it. Instead, we generally just stop. We just stop being in each other's lives.
Hmm.
And so, I mean, something as simple as addressing an adult by their first name is something that you may not even know is offensive to someone, and you're doing it because it's normal in your community, and that's landing poorly on my community. And then we end up going separate ways because of something that we could have just talked about and shared truths with one another.
Oh, interesting. And I'm sorry because I called you Kimberly instead of
No, no, no,
Williams by
no,
your
no.
last name. That's
No,
interesting.
no, 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 100%. What I actually mean is, I'll give you a great example. My niece is 18 years old and she lives with me and my partner. And we were in the mall and we ran into my partner's colleague. And my partner's colleague is an adult. And my niece is 18 years old. And I asked the colleague, what would you have my niece to call you?
Hmm.
So instead of assuming that a child, yeah, I'm in my 40s, Megan. So an 18-year-old that I'm meeting for the first time would not be invited to call me by my first name based on the culture that I come from. I would
Oh.
have to I would have to then say, no, it's okay to call me Kim. An 18-year-old would look for, what is the title that you want me to call you? That's what's normal in my community. So I've had people who don't even know, they've invited their 3-year-old to call me Kimberly. And that's in my community, the community I come from, is disrespectful. But if we don't talk about that, we don't know that.
Yes, so true. Well, can you tell us about your friendships with white women and what makes that possible?
Yes, yes. I will tell you what makes it possible. I've been questioned before and people say, Kim, how can you be friends with white women when you know at some point they will offend you or hurt you? And I say, I am not in a relationship with anyone, Megan, that is without the capability of hurting me. All of the people in my life have the potential to hurt me, but it's how we move through that hurt or that offense that is why I'm in relationships. So I have very close white women friends who who are aware of the clashes between white culture and cultures of color, and they will call it out themselves. Or if I call it out and I point it out to them, they will simply what I call OAD. They will own it. They will apologize, and then what I like to say, don't circle back unless I ask them to. And so that's why I'm able to have relationships with white women that I do indeed trust and refer to as friend.
Well, what can we all take away from this book? What's your message?
Oh, my message is that it is possible to have these relationships. My message is this book is written to tell you the truth that we've been trained not to tell you. And for people of color and white women can take away from this book the questions and the guidance in the book at the end of each letter that helps them to do better immediately in those relationships. And for women of color and people of color, when they read the book, they will definitely take away, wow, someone has seen my story and someone has shared my story with the world.
Well, it's a really important conversation, one that I think many of us didn't realize we needed to have. And I think this will be eye opening for so many people.
Yes, 100%. It already has been. I've had so many conversations since it came out. I mean, so many phone calls and text messages and DMs and private messages that are people sharing their stories. And that's what this book is about.
Oh, I love this. Kimberly, thank you so much for being here to share this with us. We so appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.